From CBC Podcasts and The Fifth Estate, Brainwashed is a multi-part investigation into the CIA's experiments in mind control. From the Cold War and MK Ultra to the so-called War on Terror, we learn about a psychiatrist who used his patients as human guinea pigs and what happens when the military and medicine collide. Listen to Brainwashed on the CBC Listen app or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is a CBC podcast.
How many almost impossible goals can you achieve in one day? I'll tell you. Nowhere near as many as Damian Warner. The pinnacle of decathlon is scoring 9,000 points. Only 4 people in history have done that, and never in the Olympics. Pow! Done by Damian Warner. Olympic gold? Done. He crushed the field through all 10 events. I am not stingy with praise, but it's no exaggeration to say Damian Warner just pulled off one of the greatest athletic achievements in Canadian history. It's Player's Own Voice. I'm Anastasia Busis. I apologize that I'm a little bit reading. I have to do like 15 interviews a day, and my brain is like a scrambled egg.
No, I feel you at it. Sometimes I'm doing all these interviews, and I'm like, I hope it comes out okay because I have no idea exactly what I'm saying at this point.
Do you feel like Lady Gaga when she was like, there can be 99 people, and you know what I mean? Yeah. And she just says the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
You just became the world's greatest athlete last night.
Yeah. I'm not necessarily sure about the whole world's greatest athlete thing. I think that's like kind of it's a tough title to kind of pin on somebody. But I became the decathlon gold medalist yesterday. I'm fine with that title.
What are you not good at?
I mean, there's a lot of things that I'm not good at, especially when you look at the decathlon. But I do whatever I can to try to improve those things. And yeah, it kind of worked out in my favor in the last 48 hours. So yeah, it's pretty
I was
cool.
thinking, like, are you good at skateboarding? Like,
I skateboarded for a little while. Not good at math at all. Actually, my coach was my English teacher in high school. Not a good English student, I'm sure. You could probably pull up some essays, and it's probably not too good. But yeah, I'm not sure if I'm just not very good at it, or he's just not a good English teacher. Who knows?
Gar seems wonderful.
He's a great guy, you know, and for those that don't know Gar, he's kind of a guy that will speak his mind. He's a guy that pushes for to find a solution for something that he wants. And sometimes it rubs people the wrong way. But in my situation, I don't think I'd be here where I am without his kind of persistence to get what we need when we need it. And yeah, the whole thing kind of just culminated and came to not a closure, but like, yeah, a culmination with this gold medal, and it shows that all the hard work and all the things that Gar and Dennis and all the other people around me, it was worth something. And it's really cool that was able to go out there and perform like I did, just to make those guys proud. Because one thing that I've always struggled with as an athlete, and I always tell people like I'm the luckiest guy in the world because I have so many people who supported me, and it makes no sense to me how I have hundreds of people that have given so much time and energy to kind of make it so I can experience what I felt yesterday. And I've always kind of felt it like burdensome. I'm like, how could I ever pay this back? You know, like I don't have enough time in the world or enough money to ever pay this back. And it's like maybe moments like the one that I had yesterday can kind of put a little dent in it, where it can kind of show like, oh, it was worth something, and your time and energy went to good use. And from here on out and through my whole career, I've tried to do whatever I can to pay it forward. And hopefully this was a start to pay back my debt.
I remember Tina Fey won an Emmy once, and she said, I feel as though I've been blessed far more than I'm talented. It's always sat with me because I think some of the best athletes that I've ever had the privilege of getting to know have a very similar mentality.
Yeah, I mean, as an athlete, you know that it's almost next to impossible to get to where you want to be without the support of other people. And in my case, that's the exact case. You know, like there's that saying, like, it takes a village, and I always tell people, like, it takes a city. And I've been really lucky to be born in London, Ontario, and the people of London, Ontario have kind of rallied behind me from the very beginning. And it's one of those things where I can't wait to go back and kind of share this moment with them, because there's no me without them. Yeah, it's just mind-boggling how lucky I've been with this whole situation.
I remember when you were training in Calgary at the Olympic Oval, we would just stop skating and watch you warm up. Like, not even train, just your warm up. It's unbelievable what you can do.
Well, it's weird because I think that's a situation where it's like athletes are kind of feeding off each other. And when I was in Calgary, Les would have us do these workouts, and it would be one of those things where I'd be running and there wasn't necessarily anybody to run against, and it'd be like, oh, if I can catch these speed skaters, or if I can catch up here. And it was sometimes like discouraging for me, because you guys were like cooling down or slowing down with like your hands on your knees or something like that, and like I'm trying to catch up, and there's like no way, you're just pulling away. And I don't know, it's really cool for me. Like, I'm a huge fan of sport, so it was awesome to be able to train there and watch other people performing at their best or trying to strive for greatness. And I just appreciate that, because I think that people see us when we're at our competitions, and they see us when we have to do like the littlest amount of work, like maybe if you're a 400 meter runner, they see you for that like 45 seconds, but it's just like, go to the practices and it's just like 2 hours of just like madness, and people don't get to see that every single day. So that's something that I've really appreciated, like I remember in 2013, I went to watch the marathon, and I never seen a marathon before. And I had my camera out, and I was going to film these runners going by, and like they zoomed by me, and I was just like, what? How fast are these guys going? Yeah. And then I went back to the hotel, and I kind of calculated to see how fast these guys were going. And I realized like they're running a marathon with faster 400 meter splits than I do in a decathlon. Like, and when I finally thought about that, I was just like, these guys are impressive. They do that for 2 hours, and I can't do that for 3.5 laps. Like,
no,
there's something wrong.
Bonkers. It's like the race walk too. It's going on right now. 50K. Evan Dunphy is race walking right now.
Like guys like Evan are amazing. Like I remember I think it was like 2015. Like they named me like team captain for one of the teams, and I was like, why am I the team captain? Someone like Evan Dunphy should be the captain all the time. Like there's no more supportive person to support all the athletes than Evan Dunphy. Like every single time we're competing, even like the night before his competition, he's doing like a play-by-play of me and Pierce in the decathlon and the 4x4 and how tight the qualification is, and giving backstories and kind of educating people on Twitter on the decathlon or the heptathlon or all these different events. And there's no better advocate for the decathlon or track and field in Canada than Evan. And I think that he should just get the title of team captain for Team Canada all the time, whether he likes it or not.
That's a glowing Yelp review. We'll have to send this to Evan. He'll be blushing.
Lately, our homes have experienced more of us. More dishes, more flushes, Mom! And more shower time concerts. After 50 years of encores, Mr. Rooter Plumbing Service professionals are equipped to handle anything. We're your neighbor you can call anytime, and we'll be there because we've been here all along. Mr. Rooter Plumbing, a neighborly company. Visit MrRooter.com today.
He smashed pretty much every Billboard and streaming record that matters.
It has already been streamed more than 1 billion times.
Billion. People still to this day point to, this is the moment everything changed.
But whether you agree with those claims or not, this podcast isn't really about him.
Either you're not an astute businessman or you're inherently racist when it comes to black music in this country.
This is not a Drake podcast. Available now on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
You've probably been asked 700 million times, but I got to ask again. 10 events over 2 days in this heat. How did you do that? Like how? I honestly don't know. I'm not trying to be dramatic. I don't know how you did it.
Yeah, there was times where like Pierce and I would talk, like we'd be like, I think we were out at shot put and there was no like umbrellas, no shade anywhere, and we were joking around at first about how hot it was, just kind of making light of it, but then there was, I think, the first moment where like, this is borderline unsafe.
Yeah.
You know? Like one of us might pass out and this is not good. And the next day they brought some umbrellas and stuff out, but it was even hotter than the first day and it almost didn't matter. And we just had a great team at Team Canada. Like my coach Gar, the physiotherapist Dave Zalipka that I work with back in London, and then just the IST team, like led by Trent Stellingworth here with Athletics Canada. They just had a plan all the way from Gifu with the ice vests and electrolytes. And I think as athletes that gives you a lot of confidence, because I know that there's some other athletes that don't necessarily have the same kind of support staff as we do. Even though it's tough, you have confidence that if things get bad enough, then we're going to have the right people around us to help us get out of that bind. And yeah, it helps you take your mind off the heat just a little bit, but there's no doubt that you feel it for those 2 days.
Physiologically, it's incredibly difficult, but mentally, how do you mentally prepare for this heat? Or could you?
Yeah, it's tough because like I think even if there's not heat, like just doing all the events in the decathlon, I think because they're so speed and power based and because we have these big gaps, like I have like little problems with like little cramps, you know, like my calf started cramping at one point and my biceps started cramping, and I built up like a pretty decent lead for myself. And as I got over like the hurdles and did discus and pole vault, it was kind of just like, I know at this point from a competition standpoint I can win this competition, but it's like your mind can't help but go to these spots where it's just like, what if I cramp up in the 1500, like 20 meters left, I just cramp up and I can't get there, I have to like crawl, you know. Like it's just like your mind just races to all these different places, and luckily that didn't happen. But yeah, you can't help but think of all that kind of stuff.
Could you even have a beer last night, like to celebrate, or are you just so depleted?
Well, I don't drink, but I would have preferred something. I mean, I'm so tired of water. Like,
yeah.
I think the decathlon makes, every single time I do a decathlon, I just like end it with like the hate of water. Like I just can't stand water, you know, like water and like blue drinks,
yeah.
you know, like it seems like it's always that way. Like I just wish there was more variety. And I'm not sure exactly what I want to drink, but just, I know I don't want to have any more water.
2% milk?
That would not be good, probably.
I'm always just so interested in like the mundane moments of the Olympics though too. You won the Olympics 12 hours ago and you had to, I'm guessing, pee in a cup and then go back to the village and fall asleep in your twin cardboard bed.
Yeah.
Like what,
I got
what
a topper
was
for my
that
bed.
like?
So like for the first couple nights, like I laid on the bed and I was just like, whoa, that's harder than advertised. You know, some people love it. Some people like hate it. But I heard in the elevator one day that like some people were moving out and they had like toppers on their bed. So I was like, I got to give that a try. So I did that and I put it on my bed and I was just like glorious. I could sleep in there all the time. And, the air conditioning's awesome in there. I have my own little room to myself and an amazing view. Like I think Team Canada's building within the village is like the best view ever. You know, we have the Rainbow Bridge and the water and it's just really, really cool. And, every morning you just kind of open up your blinds and you look there and you're like, oh, this is pretty neat. There's little things that you can kind of nitpick, but overall the experience has been amazing. And I think the whole thing with the games is just like, I really, really wish there could have been fans, because all the people that I've met here in Japan have just been amazing, you know? And I feel like they cheer for everybody. And I think that some countries that I've competed in before, like in Moscow in 2013, they would only cheer for the Russian athletes. But I feel like here they would have cheered for everybody, and you would have had a stadium full of 70,000 people just cheering. And I think it would have just made that last lap of the 1500 that much easier, you know, or long jumping that much more exciting with all the people clapping. But I really hope that they get some kind of world championships or big competition just so people can kind of see 100%. What Tokyo is like. Because I feel like I had a good experience, but I don't feel like we got the full experience of what the people here are like in Tokyo.
What they were able to achieve given the circumstances was phenomenal. So I hope they get a major games in the foreseeable future because they deserve it.
Yeah.
What's next for you, my friend?
Some time off for sure. For the last like 5 years, really, but specifically the last like 2 years with COVID and stuff, with no competitions, like everything was based around like these games. And it's kind of like a weird thing where once you finish competing, it's just like
what now?
We did all that for 2 days, you
Yeah.
know? And when you get the result you're looking for, it's just like, what now? You know, and I'm certainly not done in the sport. There's a lot more that I think I can improve on and a lot more that I think I can do. But it's like, I just know I'm taking a break right now. We have the World Championships next year, and then it just gets crazy. We have World Indoors, like 2 World Indoors. We have another World Championships in Budapest. There's Commonwealth Games. There's Pan Am Games. There's another Olympics in Paris. So, yeah, we got to this point. We got the result we were looking for, and now the next 3 years just gets really crazy, and we kind of have to pick and choose exactly what we want to do. And it's one of those things, like maybe I try to do like some individual events at some of these competitions and see if I can compete with some of these top dogs and travel with 1 pair of shoes instead of 10.
Yeah. I mean, the shoes are ridiculous in and of itself, but again, you're so dominant. I felt like I helped him out because I watched him warm up 4 years ago in the Calgary Olympic Oval, buddy.
It did, you know, like when we're warming up and we have to run certain times and you can only push yourself so far, but you find little things that you can kind of try to build off of. And there was moments like that. And even just as a distraction, you know, like, sometimes doing track and field can be boring. Coming from a basketball background, running in a straight line can sometimes get boring. So just having little things to distract you and seeing people like speed skating and doing all that kind of stuff and be like, how terrible would I be on the ice? You know, like I'd be crashing into the boards and taking people out.
No, I mean, I just watched you be so dominant in 10 events. I feel
on
like
flat land.
Your learning curve would be pretty steep though, buddy. Last question. You just had a beautiful baby son. What are you gonna do when you land back in Ontario?
I'm gonna give him a big hug and a big kiss, and probably just start making all sorts of weird noises to try to get him to smile. That's kind of been the big thing for me, is that like, and it's so weird because I'm always curious, like, what are other people in other rooms thinking? Because I'm in there just like making like we're all these weird noises, you know, because that's this kind of stuff that makes him smile. And it's just interesting. It's just like there's something really special about like seeing Theo smile. Like it just makes me so much happier. And like it's the result that I had this year is kind of owed to him in a way, because like there was a lot of really tough times training in the arena and times where you didn't really think it was going to be all right. And then we had Theo, and it's like those moments where it's like, oh, you can come home and he's smiling. It's like that stuff doesn't matter anymore, you know? Yeah. So it kind of allowed me to reset a lot of times. And I used that a lot. And I should just go home and give him the gold medal, really. He's a very special guy.
Thank you so much for taking the time on the Players Own Voice podcast, bud. It was a pleasure watching you compete.
Yes, thanks for having me on.
Peace. Damian Warner and I were talking here in the Tokyo International Broadcast Center. Players Own Voice podcast is a CBC Sports production. Social media goes to #Players Own Voice. I'm Anna Stasher. Olivia Pasquarelli is our editor. Music by Adam Blinoff. David Giddens is our producer. Thanks for listening.
For more CBC podcasts, go to cbc.ca/podcasts.